Welcome to the Oid Mac Gang podcast, or OMG. It's a podcast, a vodcast, with a panel of longtime Mac Apple users who want to discuss the most relevant apps and services to age-seasoned users. I'm Marty Gensius, an Apple enthusiast and podcaster. I am 67 years old, age-seasoned user who has collected a great group of friends to talk about Apple and the kinds of products that more aged users would be interested in. So let's go ahead and see who we have today on the panel.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm an age-seasoned 72-year-old double retiree. I've been a foundryman and high school math teacher. My dive into all things Apple began in 2006, and today I use a quite large assortment of Apple devices and services, in many ways with much enjoyment.
And I'm Bob Wood from Tucson. I have been an Apple user since OS 7. And we have a fully Apple home here between myself and my wife. And I am an officer of the Tucson Macintosh user group.
I'm Gary Shirk. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm a member of the Northeast Ohio Mac Users Group, NEOAC, N-E-O-A-C. That's where I met Marty and Peter, and I'm grateful that Marty found Bob and Chris in Tucson and put this gang of seasoned Mac users where we continue to share and learn from each other. I'm 87, 20 years older than Marty. Although that's only a number, there is a difference, along with an overlap, as to how each of us use Apple products and software to make our daily lives more efficient and more enjoyable. In 2004, I retired as an auditor working in the PC world at a Defense Department Audit Agency office in Virginia and returned to Cleveland, where I knew I would find Mac user groups. I found the two Cleveland groups. Recently, I joined a third group, T-Mug. That's Bob and Chris's group in Tucson. Today, as I simplify my life, my iPhone and my Mac M4 Mini are my most used Apple devices. Recently, Peter introduced me to Perplexity, a cutting-edge AI-powered search engine designed to revolutionize information discovery and research. Unlike traditional search engines that provide a list of links, Perplexity uses advanced large language models, LLMs, to generate comprehensive, conversational, and verifiable answers directly from real-time internet sources. Perplexity aims to be a comprehensive Swiss Army knife for information discovery. Because I didn't know the best answer to explain Perplexity to you, I asked Perplexity, tell me who you are. Download Perplexity app, you will be amazed. Okay, Chris.
Thanks, Gary. Hey, I'm Chris Wesselman. I'm 77 years old. I got my first Mac in November 1984, the 128K model, and I spent the next 9 years as a member of the Apple Corps of Dallas and additionally the MacPack in Richardson. Then I was very fortunate being able to work for Apple for 8.5 years, first in Austin, Texas, and then later in Campbell and Cupertino, California. And I later finished my career doing tech support at a major university in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been retired for the last 8 years in Tucson, Arizona, and have been a happy member of the Tucson Mac Users Group ever since I met its president, Bob, on jury duty a few years ago, but that's another story. I'm currently using an M1 Mac Mini, an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and a ninth generation iPad.
I'm going to throw a curve. I should have said this before the show, but I'm just curious. Apparently, a couple of days ago, it was the iPhone's 17th birthday. And so I tried to figure out what was the first iPhone that I owned. I couldn't remember. I know I didn't get the original iPhone because I distinctly remember disagreements with my wife around why would anybody pay that kind of money for a cell phone, and the ever perennial you don't need it. And so I was wondering. So I went and I did some research, and I distinctly remember waiting for cut and paste to happen. So it wasn't the 3G that I got. It was probably the model before that, waiting for cut and paste to happen. Anybody have any recollection of their first iPhone?
Yeah, my first iPhone was a 6S, so I waited quite a while. I had iPods, I had iPads, but I waited till I thought it had enough to make me happy with the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get the original one. I got it on Martin Luther King weekend, the year after 2008, after the iPhone was introduced in 2007. And my boss said to me, we need somebody to deal with this thing, and it seems like it's a real pain in the butt. Would you like to do it? And I said, sure. So had lots of fun with that. And I could tell a funny story, but anyway, we'll let the other guys continue.
Yeah.
I think my first iPhone was also a 3G. Waited until, don't want the first one. I thought, what do I need that for? Of course, I thought that about the first iPod as well, and maybe the first PowerBook. But somehow these things creep into our lives.
Yeah.
Gary?
I was very late getting an iPhone. I was working in Virginia, and even here, I had some brick phone. I don't know who put it out, maybe Samsung, but I had a number of Samsung phones. And at that time, I didn't really, it seemed the Samsung worked well, and Sprint at the time allowed me to use a 216 area code, which is Cleveland. And my daughter was in Seattle, and I purchased two phones, and then Lee had the house phone. But then once we were visiting my son Jack in Nashville, I'll always remember this, and I was trying to find a freeway from a gas station. And Susan had, my daughter, an iPhone because that was her first phone. I don't know what model, but I asked this fellow in the gas station directions to the freeway, and I visualize it right now. He pulled out his iPhone, the map came up, and he said, right, and I could see right where it was. But I still used the Samsung, which worked fine for quite a while. But I eventually got an iPhone, and it's truly amazing what that phone will do today.
Well, our feature today, or what we're going to talk about today, is basically the safety features. And Peter suggested this. And so I'm going to pose the first question to the group. How aware are you of the safety features that are available? And do you know anyone who's used them? Peter?
I have used safety features. So I have crashed on my bicycle twice, and both of them were minor scratch and bruises only quite a while ago, I think 6 and 7 years ago, and both triggered an emergency call, which is the basic safety feature of the group of safety features. And it gave me an opportunity to cancel the call before it connected, which, because it was a minor spill, I canceled it. But I was very happy that they happened. And secondhand, I know that many people use the safety features because when I was a teacher, I did CPR certification every 2 years. And when I talked to the EMTs who would retrain us every 2 years, I would ask them if they knew how to access it. And they were always proficient on accessing it through the watch, through the phone, and getting that medical ID information that tells about your medical conditions, allergies, medications, and all of that. I was always very pleased because I thought when I put all the information in, I thought, well, I'm putting this in, but does anybody know how to read it when it happens? So we're going to put on our show notes the basic page that has lots of links of all the safety features, but they're basically all variations of something is terribly wrong, you need to make an emergency call to someone to help you.
Yeah, I'm for those watching the video, I'm scrolling through it now. When you shared this with me, Peter, and I looked at it, I thought, yeah, I didn't realize that there were that many things under this product, under this category that the Apple iPhone can do, and also the Apple Watch can do in terms of safety. I knew the hold down two buttons in order to get an emergency call, or press the side button on your Apple Watch. The roadside assistance and satellite stuff I haven't done. Emergency call from a locked iPhone. Thankfully, I haven't had to do for myself or anybody else. The SOS via satellite is fascinating, but you're not going to find me out in the woods basically looking to get lost. So yeah, there's some really good, the crash detection, those kind of things. Gary, have you used any of these, or have you been aware of these?
I'm aware of them. I think what we need to do is say, but you need the. I try to wear my watch and have my phone with me at all times. And the
Yeah.
other nice thing about the watch is you can use the watch, of course, to find the phone. And I have fallen accidentally a couple times, and the watch would come on, ask me, and I was in a bicycle accident, but I didn't have it, and somebody called 911. But I like what Marty showed up there. Just, hey, S lady, call 911. So that's my go-to, is having the watch on my wrist all the time and having the phone available.
Bob, you have some experience?
I do have some experience. I was walking into a store from the parking lot, and I knew the store had those like wheelchair ramps from the parking lot up to their level that goes up 4 or 5 inches. Only I wasn't quite in the middle of that area. I was looking at my phone. I tripped and I went straight down, and I was okay. I had people come by. Are you all right? And I had the S lady on my phone saying, "Gee, it looks like you've fallen. Should I call 911?" And no, I'm okay. You don't have to call anybody. Another thing that I have used is Find My. Back in the days before Touch ID and Face ID was one Christmas. And my wife and I get up on Christmas morning, we open a few presents, and we're going to take a picture, and she can't find her phone. Gee, where is your phone? We went to her computer, which would tell us where her phone was, and her phone happened to be in the middle of the parking lot of the grocery store we were at the day before. Oh, well, we know where that is, but it's Christmas morning. call the store. There's nobody there. Well, I know where we're going to go tomorrow morning. And we went there, and thank goodness some kind person turned it in, and it was there at the customer service desk. And we really realized that, gee, this is something that is really important, and it's our exterior brain and has all this information about us. We should lock it up better. And my wife was of the mind, oh, putting in that 4-digit code, it just takes too much time. I can't possibly do that. So she felt bad about that at that point in time. And by New Year's Day, we had 2 new phones with Touch ID. So that helped us out as well. Chris.
Yeah, well, I think we've all heard Tim Cook reading the letters he's gotten from people whose lives were virtually saved thanks to their Apple Watch. I triggered real early on actually did make the call, and the 911 folks, it took me 5 minutes to convince them I was really okay, and I just sort of slipped over backwards into an easy chair, and it wasn't that big a deal, but they just kept saying, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was very impressed by that. I've used the health app, and I use that for all my medications, and it will spot conflicts, much like web. There is another
WebMD.
app that does that. WebMD, thank you. And but it's great because I had a situation one time where one of my doctors said, "Well, we want to try this new inhaler for your asthma," and I said, "Well, it's got a conflict with this," and he said, "Oh, okay, that's right." So we, et cetera. Now the pharmacist should usually be picking that up, right? That's why it's important to use only one pharmacist. But it's the health app is tremendously useful. I use the heart research stuff, follow that. And we talked about the medical ID. Blood oxygen is another thing that a lot of us track. And that's a little bit of a controversial topic right now on the current watches. In terms of the SOS satellite thing, where that's really useful for us here in Southeast Arizona, is there's a lake we like to go to down near the international border called Parker Lake. But there's a big stretch of that between, say, Sonoyta and once we get pretty close to the lake, that there is no cell. And so the SOS would be a really good thing in case there was a car problem. And, being 77, I appreciate that capability a lot. So a couple thoughts there.
I wonder if with the fires going on in Southern California, whether if any of the possibilities or that becomes more meaningful with the SOS capabilities. I don't know how the cell coverage is during these things or in the area, but I might imagine that if cell coverage is not running properly, that they could, and if there were an emergency needed to be located, they could use the SOS system with satellites. But I just don't know.
Fires can be a big problem for cell towers.
Yeah.
The old ones. Now, the new ones with the 5G, I'm not sure. So that dovetails back to what you were saying, because they're a lot shorter towers. So maybe that isn't as big a deal. Might be, though.
I have not used the safety features. Accidentally triggering a fall. That's happened to me. And I'll tell you, one of the things I'm afraid about is then you have to make decisions, and I feel like I'm under the gun to make decisions really quickly. So, one of those decisions is I need to let them know that I'm okay. And that means often looking at my watch, because that's with me, and then having to go from the watch to figure out what's the right button to push to tell them that I'm okay and I don't need emergency services. And I feel like I'm always on the countdown clock with that, that I'm going to miss out somehow and they're going to wind up sending the EMTs for me, even though I've just moved. And it was last week it happened. I did some weird movement with my arm and it triggered looks like you've fallen. I showed it to my wife. She thought it was funny, and because she knew I hadn't. But we couldn't, and then I had to kind of panic and get that straightened out. One of the cases that was surprising to me was the ECG. And the ECG, we're going from safety features to kind of into medical features, and that's medical features in and of itself is a whole podcast or more. But I was sitting at the vet with my dog and my wife. Not a lot of exertion, not a lot of stuff going on. And it triggered that my heart rate was really fast, was above 125 or what it was. And I was like, this is strange. Sitting, if it was after climbing a couple of flights of stairs or something weird like that, or not so weird like that, I would go, okay, well, maybe that's what happened. That pushed it. But no, I was just sitting there waiting for the vet to come to see the dog. Now, there's probably a better case that my heart rate would have gone up after I got the bill. But this was before I got the vet's bill. And it didn't have any significant effect on my heart rate after that. It probably, my heart would have stopped if I really would have focused on the bill. We left the vet and I went to I called my doctor and they said, come on in. They ran a strip on me to look for any strange occurrences within my heart rate or and my heart waves, and really couldn't find anything. So maybe it was a false alarm, but I do like the fact that it has that capability, particularly since I have a history of AFib or multiple beats, I should say, with it. But that was not the case that time. And I don't think the doctor, I don't think he was angry that it was a false alarm. He was probably better that I came in with that reaction. And I think physicians have gotten more faith in the device as a signaling device. I don't know if there's more that you would like to say about safety. Peter, I see you nodding your head. Do you have some more?
Yeah, there were a couple things because you were talking about putting your code or your fingerprint. One of the things I discovered from reading this page is that you can take someone's phone and make an emergency phone call even if they're passed out there. So allowing friends to help you out is a great thing that they've adopted into safety features. And I think there's another feature that I think of as being a friend type thing, which is this thing they call check-in. So I'm on a trip. I'm going to be home, sometime this evening. I send a message to my sister or my wife or whatever saying that check in when I get home. I don't have to remember to call them. It sends them a text. And if for some reason I don't show up, it then alerts them and they can look and see where I am and features of my phone. And that can be done both with a destination and a timer. And I want to say one other thing about satellite connectivity in response to what Marty said. And I've used the satellite connectivity just to send text messages in the Adirondacks and the Green Mountains of Vermont. But there are plenty of places you might go that don't have cell connectivity. When I went to Indianapolis this summer, I decided to take the rural route from Lima, Ohio to Indianapolis and not go on the freeways. And I was knocked out of cellular for big portions of that. And it happened to be the day when all the tornadoes were coming our way. So I was very happy that I had that satellite connectivity with my phone.
Any other comment? Peter, I'm going to have to look for that check-in. And I'm sure there's been articles on the check-in, and I'll put the articles and other links in the show notes of the show. So before
I put
showing
one link to it in our doc.
Okay, all right. Then I will make sure that we get that on the show notes for listeners to take a look at. So, yeah, I see it now in terms of in terms of that. So I'll make sure to get that in. Any other comments about this?
Marty,
Gary?
this isn't exactly related, but I use it in a sense of safety, of both so my family and friends know where I am, and just a small text emoji check-in, because as you know, I'm by myself, except for my dog, I'm by myself. So I find that I would classify that as a safety feature of my phone.
Bob,
Yeah, when
Chris?
when the first watch was coming out, one of the insurance companies was talking about, I don't know if they ever followed through in this program, but they were going to make watches available for free or very low cost for some of their, senior clients. And I don't know how that went, but that may be something that is available in some geographies.
I don't know if it's
that
still
important for
I kind of
seniors to have a.
yeah, I kind of remember that story. I don't know how the rollout on that worked, but I kind of remember hearing that story that they were going to make it as a more mass marketing, or they're going to make
My
it
insurance
available.
program will contribute to a watch or buy one of the less expensive ones for you if you agree to do some exercise program for a certain number of months. So
Yeah.
you buy it, you do the exercise program, they see the evidence, I think through the watch that you did it, and then you get reimbursed for your purchase.
It's probably Apple Fitness Plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I
Well,
should be doing, and I'm not.
Yeah, don't get me started on Apple Fitness, but that is another topic. Whenever, and we can do that as a topic. Whenever I turn it on, I'm looking for people like me, and I don't see people who look like me or look my age, and so it would be nice to see some more movement kinds of things from our age group. But we can talk about that as another topic at some point. Bob, do you have any final words on the safety features?
Well, first of all, Marty, there is nobody that looks like you. You are a unique person.
No, I'm shaped like a turnip. Come on.
I think that one of the future possibilities is blood glucose detection through the watch
Oh yeah.
without sticking your finger and getting a drop of blood. I think that's going to be a very important feature once they get it to work. And I am looking forward to them winning their case or settling their case on the blood oxygen thing. I have an iPhone 6 that is in dire need of a new battery or replacement, but I can't go out and buy an iPhone now because the blood oxygen sensor is turned off. And that is something that is very important to me and to my pulmonologist. So you get that,
Bob, you
and
meant
you
the
get
watch, right? Not the phone. You have
That's
Series
correct.
6 watch. Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm on the
Series
same
6
boat. Yep.
Yeah,
So
sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say I'm looking forward to the blood glucose thing being done. Even if they partnered it with some of the devices that are on there, like I use a Libre, and there are other devices that check my blood, and so the signal's already there. Yeah, if they would work out some partnership to be able to do that, just to use the already devices that we're sticking in our body or attaching to our body to help us with that information before they get into sort of a non-invasive way of doing blood glucose testing.
I'd like to see blood pressure someday too. So it really monitored it full time, all the time, because it's really the highs and lows that matter, right? Just racing into my doctor's office and getting it jammed in my arm and pumping it up and finding it's high doesn't really tell me very much. I mean, it's just one moment in time. But anyway,
And that's the one metric the doctor already always asks me. Now, have you been taking your blood pressure? No, I have to reach down, open up a drawer, pull the device out, put it up to my arm, make sure the batteries are active on it. All the, I have it, but I don't use it because of what I consider the inconvenience of using it. But I'm sure he sure would like to see more blood pressure, reliable blood pressure readings from me over a period of time. So, well, folks, let me just take a minute to go through some of the links that we have or that we are going to have here. So this was the one we've been talking about, the major safety features on your Apple devices. I did some looking to see if Android had similar things, and they have some similar things, but not to the extent that you find with Apple devices, like the roadside assistance, the crash detection. To what limited scanning I did, I couldn't find that. But they do have the kind of text 911 and SOS. I don't think they have fall detection, or at least I couldn't find that. A good video on Apple features that can save your life from a safety standpoint. And he goes through 9 safety features, including the satellite and how to connect with the satellite. It's a combination of what the iPhone can do and also what the Apple Watch can do. So it's kind of a mixed bag in there. And then another article here from How to Geek. This was just this August that it came out, and 7 iPhone safety features that you should start using, including check-in, which Peter mentioned, Find My, lockdown mode, safety check, emergency SOS, medical ID, and crash detection. And then information on all of those and how to set those up. And then here is the Apple support article that Peter said that he just dropped into the document that will talk about using check-in for messages and the whole process of what's shared and how it's shared. So that's everything that we've got for tonight. Thank you guys again for joining us in the Oid Mac Gang. So let's wrap it up for this episode. Our next live episode will be next Wednesday, January 22nd at 9 p.m. Through YouTube, where you can watch this crew at youtube.com/@OldMacGang. You can always pick up the podcast and video later. If you missed the live show, please share us with your friends and your Mac user groups, and maybe your parents who aren't aware of the kinds of things that the devices can do for them. Our music bed is by Philip Gross, Marrakesh, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. More information about this podcast and others can be found at thepodtalk.net. So I have updated the information on this podcast and how to find us on YouTube, and also other podcasts that are involved in the podtalk.net. Thanks to our group, Gary, Chris, Peter, and Bob, and thank you for being part of the Oid Mac Gang. See you next time.